So it's my turn. We've had a lot of innovation issues. I'm always astonished on the amount of things that we have to learn, and we can learn every day. And being a teacher and diplomat, I'm so glad that there are these occasions where we can learn. Of course, I will be talking to you about diplomats or diplomacy in innovation. And you might ask yourself, what has diplomats to do with innovation? In fact, I'm convinced, I can tell you straight away, that innovation is at the very heart of diplomacy. But this is to be proved. And why you don't generally merge these two concepts of innovation and tradition, of innovation in diplomacy? Because you have tradition in your mind. And you generally, and it was even in introduction mentioned, you generally have in mind a few things about diplomats, you know, like some sayings that you can find. This is one of them. You know, a diplomat is a man who thinks twice before he says nothing. But of course, I could go on and on with this, you know. An ambassador is high-ranking diplomat, is an honest man sent to lie abroad for the Commonwealth. So there are many other sayings that I could show to you. They are not always flattering, I must tell you, as you can see. I do not believe that this really corresponds to the real activity of diplomats. By the way, I wonder how many of you do really know or have met personally a diplomat? Please raise your hands. It's far less than half of the people. So you probably have all the others, I don't know about these ones, but all the others who didn't raise their hands, they have made up their mind on diplomats based on films, novels, even advertisements. And I'm afraid that this doesn't necessarily correspond to what we really are. So how can I explain it to you? Maybe the best way is that I go back a little bit on history and see how all this started a long time ago. This is dangerous, you know, because when people tell you, I'm going to start with a little bit of history, you always run the risk that he will start from prehistory. And that's what I'm going to do. So stay calm, take your time. Yes, it all started in prehistory when the enemy understood that it was much better to hear the messenger than to eat it. In fact, this is the basis of negotiation. Negotiation is an activity, probably this one you have in mind as a traditional activity that is performed by diplomats. And the other one that you have in mind, which is normal, and it's true, I can confirm, is protocol. You know, you immediately think of cocktails, receptions, where we go, and this sort of activity. It's true. These are two parts. I must tell you, this is not all that we do. We don't only go to receptions. And I can tell you that while going to reception is nice at the beginning. You know, when you're young, you go, you are invited, you know, National Day, whatever it is, you go, drink, talk, learn, because even there you can learn a little bit. But after a while, when this becomes, you know, kind of routine, it can be very heavy, and also can be very dangerous for your feet, and also for your stomach sometimes. But anyway, this is part of the game, but it doesn't of course tells you everything about what a diplomat does. There are many other activities. I can mention to you a couple of more which are important, especially one. It's managing resources and like people and money. It's part of the job of a manager like a diplomat is, but also managing information. This is extremely important for diplomats, managing information. You know, we are not spies, that I can tell you, but certainly we are we're very keen, very much concentrating on getting the right information. And that's exactly in managing information where most of the changes have occurred through new technologies. That's why I'm talking about Diploma 2.0. That's where innovation has played a very important role. Let me give you an example. I'll give you an example, personal example. This is very common, but I hope it will give you an idea on how this has changed. My first posting, 1991, imagine, my first posting was Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam, for those who don't know, I'm very strong in geography, is Tanzania, Eastern Africa, nice place for holidays. I was posted there, with my wife. We went there, very excited. The first posting is the one that you never forget. It's journey for the good, to be honest. So very, very, very nice, and everything was new. I was deputy ambassador. Can you imagine that? It's first posting. You already have some responsibilities. It's very good. But of course, I was not ready to many things, even to know a little bit more on how information would come. For example, the information I was getting from Italy, and of course I was supposed to know about Italy, I was representing Italy there, was through the diplomatic pouch. Diplomatic pouch is a packet pouch that have diplomatic privileges, that's all, nothing else. And we open it when we receive it in the embassy. But I could get there the magazines, well, the newspapers more than the magazines, of the previous week. So I was always reading the newspapers and the news of previous week. I didn't know what was going on at that very moment. Of course you can say, okay, but you have the radio. There was no internet at that time. Huh? Internet was in CERN at that time, not in ministries and in other big companies or whatever. So no internet, forget it. Radio, right, radio. Yes, we had a radio program every day. 3 minutes, short wave. And I don't know how many of you have tried the short waves. Not very good reception. If you lose those 3 minutes, you're gone, finished, end of the game. So really, you didn't have much possibility. No satellite TV in Tanzania at that time, if you're thinking of that. So that was all I could do in terms of communication, getting communication and being informed. This is, if you think about it, we are talking about a little bit more than 20 years ago. It's not 200 years ago. You might think, it's 200 years ago. No, it's 20. Everything has changed today. You have so many sources, immediate sources, video, multimedia, whatever. You choose. Through the internet, you choose. Completely changed. So this is, of course, affects a lot of work. And that's why I'm talking to you today about Diploma 2.0. It's completely different work. Let me give you another example to see how we get to the Diploma 2.0. Let's go back 30 years, 20 years, depending. Sitting in an embassy everywhere in the world, you receive a request. You have to send us these documents or this note verbal, which is a typical formal way of communicating through governments. Okay, we need to get that. You send it to us. Okay, I will send it to you. We need the original, or something, or we need the copy, whatever. Okay, I will put it in the pouch, and you will receive it. You will receive it next week. Because, of course, it takes 1 week if it is the right day. That's it. What happens in the same situation, let's say 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Fax time. I don't know, fax machine. Some of you might remember fax machines. Fax machine, you receive the same call. What do you do? Okay, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you straight away by fax. Puff. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on the on the length of the document, how big was the document, the good lines, bad lines. Anyway, minutes. We're talking about minutes. What is happening today? You receive the same request, and you have to send the document straight away. Attachment, email. They're expecting that. No other way. No excuse. Sorry. It has to be here straight away. Be ready. So you understand that this has completely changed. Reaction time, what is called reaction time, not only in diplomats, of course, but we work all over the world. So this is, you don't have much time to think at the end of the day. You have just to do it, and do it straight away. There's no other things that you can do if not go ahead. So technological changes are, in fact, reshaping the nature of diplomacy. But what is the risk? There is a risk. The risk is that the use of these technologies, or technologies at the end of the day, control you know, the person. And the person, or the diplomat in this case, doesn't control technology. So you're carried away by the technology. This is a big risk if you don't use it properly. That's why it is very important to use them properly, or to make the best use out of them, to make the best use out of innovation, which is always running, is to be trained, to learn new things. And why I'm telling you this, of course, I am the director of the Istituto Diplomatico of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which means the place where training is done. So, you know, I'm not objective necessarily, but I'm very much convinced that learning to use them is the only way to go on and stay effective in a way. And there are so many instruments today you can use to learn. For example, if we talk about public diplomacy now in our institute, what I'm showing when we talk about public diplomacy are also the TEDxTalks. Because TEDxTalks are a very good instrument, one of the best instruments to show how things should be done, how to convey some messages, to have a message and everything else I don't have to tell you because you're here. But of course, this has become an instrument also for training and teaching in an environment which seems far away, like the environment of diplomacy. So there is a problem in this training activity with diplomats and with professionals in general. It's what I call the NIMBY attitude. You know, NIMBY, is used in many other occasions, is not in my backyard. When you train professionals, when you train diplomats, they will tell you, yes, it's very important to be trained. I know, yes. But when it comes their turn to be trained, they don't have time for it. So it's not for me, you know, it's good for everybody else, but not for me. I don't have time for this. So that's why they say not in my backyard. And this is, of course, makes it difficult. But of course, it's extremely important to know how to use all these instruments. I mentioned to you before, TEDxTalks, but of course the social media are the big challenge, if you want, in our communication, as a communication instrument. And of course, the Twitter, for example, if we take one example of social media, is affecting very much also diplomatic activities. We are talking today of Twitter diplomacy or Twiplomacy. Why we are talking about this? Because in many occasions now, heads of governments, heads of states, ambassadors, politicians, whatever you want, they use the Twitter to post or to send around their message even before you have official communique. Now official communique is something old. So if you're not using properly these things, you will come late. You will know late. And if you don't use them properly actively, which means to provide in the public diplomacy, you will be missing a point. Here, you have just an idea of, you know, kind of, this is an Agence France-Presse exercise on connecting, on mapping the connections on international affairs, who is following who, between US and the other countries. There you can play many others. But it's just a way to give you the idea. But what I'm telling you now might make you think that all this social media, at the end of the day, they might replace, in fact, diplomats. I mean, if you can find everything, and why you need somebody, you know, as a mediator, can social media really replace diplomacy? I would say certainly not, because there is still the value added of an ambassador, of a diplomat sent to a country, who lives in the country, who is able to know the people. Still, we are talking still about people anyway, as it was said, and to make the right analysis, to know what are the interests of the country representing and all this. So there's no such an issue as replacing, you know, certain activities. But certainly the point is that diplomats cannot ignore, and I think they're not doing so, that these tools are completely changing their work. What is the challenge for diplomats? The challenge for diplomats is that in order to still be effective, they should use these tools properly. The diplomats must be always extremely versatile. They change, place every time. They must have good traditional manners, because this is, at the end of the day, they're representing certain countries. They must have emotional intelligence. They must be able to use properly the tools which are available, even the new ones, which means, in fact, they have to be able to mix all these things in a proper way. Like a cook. You have a cook, you have two cooks. One cook with the same ingredients, and if it's a good cook, you will get from those ingredients a very nice dish. If it is a bad cook, even with the same ingredients, same quality of food, whatever, you won't get a good plate. It's the same for diplomats. They should find a way to mix properly all the elements, which are elements of tradition, elements of innovation, to be able to be more effective. Well, the point is that I am convinced that diplomats are one of the best examples of how tradition and innovation can be a winning mix. Thank you.